What would you do if you were alone at home and a creepy guy called you? That's what happens to a young girl named Tara. She is alone in the kitchen, and she receives calls on the phone. Initially, she did not answer, but the phone kept ringing, and she decided to pick it up. An apparent friend of her mother tells Tara to inform her about this call. After, they talk about horror movies when at one point, the man makes her realize that he will soon kill her. Tara, fearful, instinctively closes the call. She immediately activates the home security systems, but the phone rings again. Suddenly, she receives a message on her phone from her friend Amber, with whom she is chatting. Amber suggests that she answer the phone. When Tara answers the call, the man tells her that he has cloned Amber's cell phone and sends her a video of him lurking outside her friend's house. The man decides to play a game and asks her 3 questions about the movie called Stab. Her friend will die if she does not answer all of them correctly. With some difficulty, she answers the first 2 correctly, but gets the 3rd one wrong. At that point, the man sends her a video as he approaches Amber's house with a knife. Tara grabs a kitchen knife and runs to leave the house to help her. She opens the door, and Ghostface is waiting for her and stabs her. She closes the door, goes to the kitchen, and locks the security systems again, which for some reason keep unlocking themselves each time. She receives yet another call from the killer, and while they are talking, he catches her off guard. The girl tries to fight for her life. The killer is about to murder her, but the police arrive in time, and he runs away. The older sister, Samantha, gets the news that Tara is in the hospital and leaves in a car together with her boyfriend. Outside school, Tara's friends talk about the incident, and one of them suggests downloading an app where one can see the location of the other. Then they hit the road and go to the hospital to visit Tara. Samantha arrives at the hospital, where she finds her friends already in the room. The younger sister is amazed but mainly happy to see her. Tara asks Samantha to stay and talk. Once everyone leaves, Tara bursts into frightened tears. Later that evening, the group is at a pool hall. The girl named Amber talks about Samantha's past and the ridiculous things she used to do. Soon after, a weird guy approaches Liv and asks her to talk. Chad intervenes threateningly and tells him to leave. He goes to urinate outside the bar. At one point, his car lights turn on, and he goes to check, but no one is there. He turns off the car, and Ghostface pops out and attacks him in the neck. At the hospital, Samantha takes pills while looking in the mirror, where she sees her father. Apparently, she experienced a traumatic event in the past, but we still know nothing about it. She receives a call. It is the killer. Samantha provokes him to come and fight her. She doesn't have to wait long because the killer pops out behind a door and attacks her. Samantha manages to get away and alert the police. A policeman intervenes and enters the room. There is nothing but a mess. Returning to Tara, Samantha tells her the true story of why their father left. As a child, she had discovered diaries in which there was evidence that their birth father was the notorious killer Billy Loomis. Her younger sister does not want to listen to her and kicks her out. Richie is waiting for Samantha and overhears the whole conversation. Despite the apparent danger, he decides to stay by her side. The couple visits former Deputy Sheriff Dwight Riley. Although a little hesitant, he lets them in. The gist of his speech is that the killer's motive to kill is related to something from the past. There is a visible air of tension in the speech. In fact, when they ask him for help, Dwight tells them to leave. Shortly after, he warns his old acquaintance Sidney Prescott that Ghostface is back. All the friends gather at Chad's house to find out he is the killer. A little later, Dwight joins them as well. The others suspect Samantha of being the killer, and she leaves upset. In the next scene, we see Wes's mother, who hears noises in the house. She grabs a knife, and suddenly Wes appears. She leaves for work and, on the way, receives a phone call from the killer. He tells her that he is about to kill her son, who is in the shower. At that instant, the woman tries to return home immediately. Just as she runs to the front door, Ghostface appears and stabs her several times without hesitation and kills her. Wes has come out of the shower, and as he walks around the house, he notices that the door is open and goes to close it. Once it is locked, the ruthless murderer approaches and kills him. Later, Samantha and Dwight arrive at the crime scene, but the girl is denied access to view the bodies. In addition, Dwight meets with his ex-girlfriend Gail Withers. In the process, Samantha talks on the phone and notices that the sheriffs supposed to be defending Tara are currently here. Tara is in danger, and Samantha runs to the car with Dwight, who wants to help her. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Tara hears suspicious noises and decides to get off the crib to check on a wheelchair. As she leaves the room, the hospital lights go out, and she sees a sheriff on the floor. Tara returns to the room and tries to call the police. Suddenly Richie appears, and Tara hits him with the phone. He reveals that Samantha informed him that Tara is in danger. A few moments later, Ghostface appears behind him and hurts him. The killer walks toward Tara, who slams a machine into him, flinging him to the floor. Tara makes it in time to leave the room to go, but Ghostface catches up with her. Samantha calls Tara on the phone, and Ghostface answers. He asks her to decide who should die between her sister and her boyfriend. Fortunately, they make it in time to arrive and fight the killer. Dwight shoots, and the killer starts to run away. They catch up with the others, but all of a sudden, Ghostface attacks the former sheriff. Dwight slices the gun and knocks the killer to the ground. Everyone enters the elevator except Dwight, who wants to shoot the killer in the head. Once back to the assassin, a ringing distracts him, and Ghostface pounces on him, stabbing him with 2 knives. At the hospital, Samantha meets Gail, telling her that she is sorry about Dwight. A little later, the woman is joined by Sydney, and they console each other. The next day, Samantha and Tara have a confrontation in which they realize that they must stick together and trust each other. On their way out of the hospital, Sydney and Gail try to stop Samantha, Tara, and Richie, who want to flee the city. The attempt is futile, but Sydney puts a GPS on their car. While in the car, Tara realizes she has lost her inhaler. She says she left it at Amber's house, at which point they start to drive back. At Amber's house, there is a party. Chad and his girlfriend are having a good time, and she suggests they go upstairs to sleep together. He declines as he is not 100% certain that she is not the killer. This offends her, and she walks away. Chad then goes after her and finds her geographical location through an app. Once he arrives, Ghostface attacks him. Chad starts crawling, but the killer chases and stabs him several times. Upon arriving at Amber's house, Richie convinces everyone to leave. Meanwhile, Mindy is watching Stab, and Liv returns to the house. There is an argument between the two, as Chad has suddenly disappeared. Meanwhile, Richie goes to the basement to get beers and invites Mindy to accompany him, but she refuses. Ironically, while Mindy is watching the scene in Stab, where the killer is right behind the victim, Ghostface approaches and jabs her. Samantha hears the screams and runs to help her. She throws a lamp at Ghostface, and the latter starts to run away. A few moments later, they all gather in that room except for Richie. The latter arrives slightly later than them. There is total panic, and Liz seems the most suspicious, as she is Chad's girlfriend and has blood on her hands. She keeps repeating that she is not the killer, and at one point, Amber pulls out a gun and shoots her right away. Meanwhile, Gail and Sydney arrive and take 2 guns. While they are outside, Amber comes out pretending to have been stabbed. The 2 women are skilled at their jobs and realize that Amber is faking it. Amber points the pistol and shoots Gail. Sydney returns fire, but Amber goes back in. Despite this, Sydney enters anyway. Sydney wants to take her to the hospital, but Gail convinces her to go and put an end to the serial killer. Samantha finds Tara tied up but is hesitant to untie her because there is a slight chance that she is one of the killers. Meanwhile, Sidney goes upstairs and shoots at the doors in case the killer hides. As a result, he shoots Richie, who is hiding from the killer. A moment later, Ghostface attacks Sidney, and they both fall downstairs. The gun also falls between them. The killer and Sidney try to crawl to get it, but Samantha comes swiftly and grabs it. In the process, Richie approaches her, and the same tragedy happens to her. Amber and Richie bring Sam, Sidney, and Gail into the kitchen, revealing that they are obsessively devoted fans of the Stab series. They are disappointed by its trajectory and eager to revive the franchise with a new series of murders to serve as source material and defend the fans from the toxic fandom label they feel they have unfairly received. Amber goes to retrieve the captured Tara but is attacked by her after Samantha unties her. This distracts Richie long enough for Sidney and Samantha to overpower him. Sidney and Gail fight Amber, while Sam fights Richie. Gail joins them and shoots Amber. The girl ends up in fire. Richie manages to capture Samantha and is about to kill her. At that point, Samantha's father's face points out a hidden knife. She retrieves the knife and stabs Richie several times. Samantha, Sidney, and Gail are reunited when suddenly Amber runs toward them with a knife.